Welcome to this session on placing a curtain wall. So in this session, we're going to place a little bit of curtain wall on the back side of the building here. Now I do want to double check and make sure I'm on that lobby floor, set my floor elevation, and make sure that my ACS plane and ACS plane snap lock are turned on. And then I need to rotate around to the back side of the building. I'm going to use a little shortcut here, which is to use the Shift and Control key and then right click on the mouse. Pulls up a little screen menu that has all the different view orientations, as well as some different display styles and rotation options, turning the camera on and off, and so forth. So I'm going to select this back right isometric, and that turned my building around, and now I'm going to work here on the back side. So I'm going to go up to the architectural ribbon and select the curtain wall tool. Go ahead and fit this view here. So that loaded the properties dialog where I can select the curtain wall system that I want to place. There are a couple of generic curtain wall systems delivered with the product, and I'm going to select the one which is called Profile Front Fixed Spacing. Now my first setting here is the type of curtain wall. You can see there's several options here, whether it's curtain wall or storefront or a ribbon window or even a punched opening. I'm going to select storefront in this case, since what we're really placing here is storefront down here at the ground floor of the building. Those settings have really no effect on the actual geometry of the curtain wall, but it might be something that you want to use when you're scheduling your curtain wall. Then the rest of the settings here affect how the curtain wall is assembled or laid out. You have both the horizontal and vertical settings. And so to start with, you can see you could define it by a maximum spacing or a minimum spacing on the horizontal mullions. You could use a fixed distance or a number of panels. So for the horizontal mullions, I'm going to use a fixed distance, and I'm going to start that distance at the bottom of the curtain wall and then basically work up. So I'm going to put that first mullion at 10 feet actually. Now for the vertical layout, I'm actually going to use number of panels, and I'm going to set that to 6. So I'm going to place this basically on one bay of the building here, and I have 30-foot bays, so if I have 6 panels, that'll give me about a 5-foot spacing. And then of course there's other data I could turn on or off or define, such as an ID type. And we're just going to scroll down here and take a look. I'm not going to change these settings. I'm going to use the defaults here, but you can select a curtain wall panel. That'll be the glass type used in the panel. And then the different frame profiles for the horizontal and vertical mullions, as well as the jamb frames. But as I said, we're going to just leave the defaults there. Now once I have that set up the way I want to place it, I might want to actually save it so I can easily recall it again. So I'm going to go up to the pull down here and select the Save Catalog Item As. So that saves my current settings as a new catalog item type. And I'm just going to call this my Profile 1 and select OK. So it goes out, saves that, puts me back in the file. And then I can easily recall it if I want to place it again. So I'm ready to place. I'm going to come up to the placement ribbons and check how I'm going to place it. I could place it by line or arc. So I'm going to select the line option here. I can give it an overall height. So we're going to use 12 feet, and I'm going to use the left justify option here. And that's basically where my placement line is relative to the overall width of the curtain wall. I'm also going to put in a side offset. I'm going to set that at 2 inches. And that simply means if my placement line is along the edge of the wall here, then the curtain wall is going to recess or offset 2 inches back from there. And we could also put in a base offset. I'm going to leave it at 0. And then I'm simply going to place this by selecting the intersection of the column line and the wall there. Now you can see on my cursor I have the outline or the framework of that curtain wall, and I'm simply going to select the end point, and it places the curtain wall in the wall. We'll zoom in a little there. You can see it's recessed back that 2 inches. I've got 6 panels here, and my first horizontal frame is 10 feet above the ground. So fairly simple to place that system. And now the real power is in being able to modify that curtain wall once it's placed. So I'm going to use my selector tool, and I could select a frame, for instance, and you can see the frame has handles on it, and if I hover over those handles I get a little mini toolbar. And I have several options here. I could delete that frame, I could move the frame, I can copy it, or I can toggle its visibility, essentially making it disappear so that all I have is a butt joint there. And then the second row here are the same tools, but rather than doing it to that individual piece of frame, it would do it to the entire line. So I'm going to use the move line, and you can see now my AccuDraw compass comes up, and I can just slide this over, type in a dimension. I'm going to put 2.5 feet, and then left click to accept, and it moves that frame over. I do it again, only this time I'm going to use the copy line, and now I'm going to come 5 feet in this direction. So I've made a modification to that fairly regular panel system and introduced a little variance in it by simply modifying it once it was placed. Now another option might be to select one of the mullions and hide its visibility, toggle the visibility, and you can see we get a butt joint there. Or I could even delete it, in which case I don't get that butt joint, it becomes a full panel. Maybe we want to come back and do that to this one as well. Now as far as the panels go, I can also select a panel, and you can see I have a center handle on the panel, and I have some of the same options. I could toggle its visibility, but I could also change its properties, modify its properties. Then I could come over to the properties dialog, and instead of glazing type 1, maybe I want spandrel glazing type 1. We'll accept that. And so I can actually change what that panel is made up of. And finally, zoom in here, we can also change how the frames meet up. In other words, this vertical frame is running past and the horizontals are butting into that. If I wanted to change that, I could simply select that frame. You can see there's a little handle on the end, and when I hover my cursor over there, I have different options in terms of how those frames could be connected. So for instance, rather than the vertical butting through, we could have the vertical butt to the horizontal. Make a simple change like that. I could also come up, select where these four mullions intersect, and maybe I want them to all miter together. So I could go through and adjust all those frame connections. And then of course, once that panel is finished, I could copy the entire panel to set up some other bays. And there we go. We've fairly quickly placed some curtain wall system into the exterior wall of the ground floor of the building.